Hey, homeschool moms. So I'm jumping in here to answer a couple of questions that were asked a few weeks ago. And so I'm taking one question at a time because I want to do it justice. And if you have other questions that you'd like to throw into the comment section, then I will make sure that they get answered. And today's question is from Sherilyn. And Sherilyn had shared, I have an imaginary goal. I don't always get it satisfied, is what I had come to understand from that. I have an imaginary goal. I then feel anxious and shut down. And especially, I want to end the school year early or at least on track with public school, if in case they return to public school. So Sherilyn, if I understand your question correctly, you're saying that you know that you've got this imaginary goal of your homeschool and it makes you feel anxious and then it makes you feel shut down and then it kind of just doesn't feel good. I'm going to assume that because that is what anxiety does, is it doesn't feel good. So the thing is, having an actual one-on-one conversation with you really does make a difference because then I can ask questions that help me understand what exactly is your experience of your homeschool, what's your intention behind your homeschool, your values, how it's working for you in general, how you see it's working for your kids, what you believe in education to be anyway. All those questions are ones that I explore directly with you. But if I'm asking or if I'm listening to you share that you feel anxious about something, or that you have an imaginary goal, it, for me, immediately makes me think, okay, so my experience of anxiety is that, first of all, it's very uncomfortable and I would like to do anything to make it stop. And so my instinct inside of me is to try to control what I can on the outside of me. Pretty typical experience for most human beings. And also anxiety can be really hard to understand what exactly is going on in here unless you put it out of you, whether that's speaking to another person, writing it down, or just speaking it out loud to the mirror. Sometimes that feeling of anxiety is really nebulous and it feels in various places in our body. We feel it, but we also don't always have clarity on exactly what is triggering it. And that's where actually trying to clarify with someone really, it matters. Because sometimes when I had my own experience of anxiety recently and I couldn't quite figure out what is the thing, I feel many things around, and I don't even remember what it was, but around the thing, the situation. And then when I say it out loud, what it is that I'm feeling anxious about, then I realize, oh, I got it. I got clarity. Now I know what the thing is. And so I can say the thing and I hear it back in my own head and realize that's it. That's the reason that I'm feeling anxious. I remember one conversation that I've heard on repeat from a mom share that she just feels anxious when her house is a mess. I think that's like literally the story of a mother's life, unless you're good with it, unless you're good with a mess. But very few don't express that kind of an experience where they feel like if they just want to feel a little bit more in control and less anxious, they want the house to be clean first. And I understand that one. And clearly I have learned how to deal with that because you don't get pointed at a space in this room that is untidy and unclean, but I can guarantee you I have dealt with this issue because my house is not always clean and it's not always tidy, and I'm okay with it now. And I really wasn't 25, 30 years ago. And so this mother was sharing that she needs to have her house clean. It needs to all be organized. And the kitchen, at least, the very least, the kitchen has to be washed up and everything put away. And though that obviously has to happen on occasion, we need bowls and spoons and forks, and eventually they'll run out if we don't wash them and put them away, or at least wash them and dry them and leave them on the counter or in the dishwasher. We do need those things, but we also can probably look at that challenge of a messy kitchen and say, okay, why is it causing me so much anxiety. It's the thing that we can control. So that's just like a short, abbreviated way of me addressing and the discussion of anxiety, that sometimes it comes out in various places in our homeschool, including the kitchen, but also in our homeschools. For some bizarre reason, I have seen this in me repeatedly, that I can write a list of things on my to-do list over the course of my life. I could write 63 things, or I could write 625 things, or I could write 4. And if I don't have those things done at the end of the day, did I really live my life on purpose? And it doesn't matter how many things are on that list. I just need to check that list off. And I do hear that repeatedly with homeschool moms about their homeschool curriculum or whatever their original plan was for the homeschool day. And I understand that compelling, because it is it's very much a challenge that I've had. I understand it. And that's where the origin of my time audit came in. That I understood that it's just because you decided that you needed to do these things, or you thought these things were good things to do, doesn't mean you have the time to do all of them. It certainly is not a reflection on if you lived your life well, or if you're living purposefully, or if you really are home educating your children well. Those two things aren't the same discussion. It feels like it, but it isn't the same discussion. And so I've learned time auditing, actually looking at what I'm doing in the day and deciding how much time it actually takes, not how much time I wish it took, and writing down how much time each of the activities would take, and then also building in margins around that activity so that kids can move to the mudroom to get their shoes on, and then discover that they didn't have the other shoe, it's in the back door. And then also, oh yeah, we're going to soccer, we need to get the cleats. So where's the cleats? Where'd the cleats go? And building in margins of space around the day activities that we have. Then we can actually be more realistic with how much can we get done. It's no longer an imaginary goal that we can't achieve. It's a goal that we can achieve. Also, there will be various things that come up that will not allow us to achieve the thing. But, somebody calls and says, I need your help to go somewhere or do something, or help me with something, or one child gets hurt, or, there's so many possibilities. So sometimes we can't get done something in a day for various life reasons. So a discussion, when you share about feeling anxious and then you feel shut down, I personally don't know that experience, but I have heard that experience in certain, more likely certain personality types. And the feeling that this is just too much, is that the experience, that you're feeling so anxious that it's too much, and I'll just fade out because I can't actually stay full present. It's overwhelming me. Is that the experience that you're having? You shared that you want to finish the school year early, or at least be on track with the public school in case they go back. So those are two kind of thoughts that I have, or two thoughts that you shared. And the first one is, if you want to finish early, just close the book. And I really do mean that. For a very long time, I don't remember how many years it was, but in the early years, I said, we're going to just all year school. And for me, that didn't work, because I had in my mind that I had to create a routine all year long. And even when I got much more self-directed learning, unschooly in my approach, I still had this thing in the back of my mind that I'm always looking for learning opportunities, or I'm looking to strew things, or to go to the library and get 60 books, or maintain some sort of routine. And at a certain point, I just had to let go of the idea of being in any way, shape, or form intentional. And I actually needed a legit break so that I would just full stop, not think about it. So what I did, and take this as a grain of salt, because I genuinely don't think that each of our homes, we're going to be doing things the same way. But what I did is I noticed that I was seasonally interested in homeschooling. And I've heard this quite a bit lately. This is 100% my experience, that by September, I was all in with school supplies and resources and routines and all the things. But then somewhere before Christmas, I was starting to fade. Thank goodness for Christmas, because then we could like focus in a different direction. So many activities, we could make it like unit studies around Christmas or whatever we did. And then by January, when all the holidays wrapped up for us, then we were tapped. And so kind of thinking, maybe we should like slow things down, do some documentaries, do as much, learning stuff in a kind of an unschooly way, just like slow things down a bit, be more open to taking play dates and including theater productions for the kids and all sorts of different things that I wouldn't normally have done, because we had the classical homeschool routine from September to December. Then that would happen for about 2 months, and somewhere in mid-February, slump month, I was done. And I was good. We could just stop now. We could be like, do we have to homeschool anymore? Maybe we should put the kids back into school. If that was you in February, just know this is a thing. This is as common a thing as becoming an adolescent when you're about 11 to 13 years of age. A homeschool mama is going to tire out by February or March. It's a thing. But then somewhere when spring came around in our part of the world, and we had the capacity to go outside and play a whole bunch more, we did. And then I called it Charlotte Mason's season. And that's what we did, is we spent a lot of time outdoors. We'd read Shakespeare and poetry and write and draw and narrate and dictate and all the things. And then I probably went into a phase of kids did project-based learning or unit studies. And then by May, which is now, I would say, yeah, no more. Now I just want to stop, like actually stop, except for math for 15 minutes each day. In the early years, I discovered that kids were, they would lose track of their math concepts if they didn't do anything over the summer. So at least that was for my kids and the way that I saw it then. Not sure I'd see it that way now. And so then we kept up with math for about 15 minutes every day until the end of June. And then they could fully put their stuff away and we could just do anything except for anything learning intentionally or thinking about learning opportunities intentionally. That's how I rolled. And so even when I had curriculum, resources, a routine that was unfinished, and it was May, I closed the book. Even when I saw 2 more weeks, it's just 2 more weeks, I could do 2 more weeks, and then we would actually really be done. And I practiced closing the book. It was May days. We were done. So take that as a grain of salt, because I know we all have different reasons for doing what we do, and also different regulations in where we live. And obviously I have a lot of freedom where I live, but I approached it that way, and it did help me feel like I fully engaged for all of the year. Whether that was in the summer, I'd still see my kids learning oodles of things in the summer, even when I had zero intention behind the activities of what we were doing. But you shared that you sometimes think about keeping them on track, so in case they go to public school next year. So, that is definitely a discussion that you and I would have to have, because, it's very dependent on what grades your kids are that I would actually engage this discussion. But for those that are watching that are not Sherilyn, I would also add that I've noticed until the end of grade 9, they're on track, no matter what they're doing. It will take, if they have absolutely no math literacy, it would not take them very long to figure out the most basic concepts to understand before they went into a grade 10 class. And I have seen my kids do this because we have one kiddo that homeschool high school graduated and unschooled essentially all the way through high school and is now in post-secondary school, by the way. And then I have 2 other kids, one that's about to graduate and one that's could be graduated university at this point. but those both went from finishing grade 9 going into grade 10, and though they had certain things that they had to learn that that they didn't know about, they were able to figure out what they needed to figure out, and there was no big shock to the system about how to really do anything. But that is a discussion for another time about transitioning from homeschool to high school. That was my experience in my homeschool. And so if you have other questions or you'd like to chat one-on-one, you can connect with me. I will put the booking link below for Sherilyn or for anybody else that would like to connect. And I think it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays that I have booked time available. And if you have any other questions that you would like me to address or any thoughts that you have, please put them in the comment section down below too. I hope you have a really great week.